right, welcome Shanna. Thanks for hosting Montana PBS Media Lab this morning. I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Nikki. So I'm Shanna Rodgers. I'm a school counselor in Billings for School District 2. I have been, this last spring, I attended the media labs with Nikki and her team, and it was life-changing for a counselor, I guess, is what I could say. I don't have that background with teaching, so I have the clinical side of counseling as I'm an outpatient therapist for a community here in Billings. So when I was able to see what kind of like media stuff is going on that the teachers are into, that kind of sparked a lot of interest for me on the counseling side. How can I bring media into our classrooms to help kids with their social emotional learning? And so today I wanted to go over a few different ideas that I can give you. I know, unfortunately, school counselors can't be in your classrooms all the time, even though I feel like that would be helpful for a lot of kids. And we just have so much on our plate and that we can't do lessons every week or even every few days. So at this point, a lot of counselors here in Montana, we do lessons by about 2 times a month, or some counselors can get in and do mini lessons. But what I'd really like to show you guys is how, as teachers or other educators, not necessarily counselors, but how to use media inside of our classrooms. Even if that's something as small as like a 5-minute thing, maybe it could look like a bigger lesson. Okay, so there's a few different options we have for entire lessons, or there's many things that we're going to be able to practice too. All right, so let's get started. Hi, Emily. She's one of my teachers. Okay. All righty. So you know a little bit about me now. Let's start here. Okay. So social emotional learning. This is kind of like, we've been hearing about this a lot. We know that it's important, but how do we teach our kids about it? What can we do in our classrooms? So this is a short video on the importance of SEL, and we'll watch this video together real quick, and then we'll press on how to bring it in through media into our classrooms.
There's a lot of talk these days about SEL, social emotional learning. But what exactly is it? Social emotional learning is the process of learning social and emotional skills, and it's just as important as learning reading or math. This learning process is most effective when it begins early and continues through high school. Social emotional skills are essential for success in school, work, and life. With SEL, students learn to manage their own emotions and behaviors, have empathy and show care and concern for others, solve problems effectively, make responsible decisions, and maintain healthy relationships. Students learn to recognize what's happening inside them and to be aware of their emotions, which helps them deal with strong emotions and impulsive behaviors. It helps them stop, take a breath, and think about a situation before acting. Students learn to identify others' emotions and perspectives, which helps them empathize and show compassion, no matter who they are or what their background is. It's not difficult to imagine how this is important in the classroom and in life. Students learn to solve problems in peaceful ways and communicate assertively about what they need or want. This helps them get along with other students and get the help they need from adults. When students learn to make responsible decisions about their lives and their future, things can turn out better. Research shows social emotional learning makes a difference. Students who participate in SEL do better academically, have improved attitudes and behaviors, and act in delinquent or disruptive ways less often. In the United States, students with strong social emotional competence are twice as likely to earn a college degree and nearly 50% more likely to graduate from high school and have a full-time job by age 25. Just as important, students who are socially and emotionally competent have more friends. This means they're more likely to feel connected to school and do well, and less likely to be left out or bullied. Simply put, by participating in social emotional learning, students learn the skills to succeed in every facet of school and the rest of their lives.
Okay. All right, so that gives you a little bit of an idea of why we have SEL in school. So we can have our teachers teach math and English and art and all the stuff, but they're human and they're gonna have a time where they're not feeling it, right? And so the counselors are here to help kids get through that and get through their academic education, because nobody's perfect and we're all going to have hiccups. And so I'm going to start with Google Forms. So I use a lot of Google Forms at my work, and what I've seen a few of the intermediate teachers already doing in bringing SEL into their classrooms is using a check-in form. And so what this looked like, or sometimes primary teachers will use this in circle time, and they'll go around and how are you feeling? What did you do? The highs and lows and things like that. But if you can, let me see if I can get this Google form for you. I'd like everybody to, Nikki, can we get that? Okay, cool. All right. So go ahead and log into the form. If you guys can get to the Google Doc they're on, let's see what slide it's on. Okay, slide 7. All right, go ahead and click that link, Google Forms, have feelings too. Go ahead and check in today. What we would like to do with this, like why do we want to know how the kids are in the morning? If you have any kind of educational background, you will know that dependent on how we do, how we slept, how we ate, how we're feeling is pretty much we're setting ourselves up for how we're going to do the rest of the day. Okay. And as kids, it's harder for us to regulate during that time. As adults, we have more practice with our context and where we are in life. And so we are able to better maintain in that environment. So the importance of having this morning check-in, and it kind of tells us where our kids are for the day. And I like this from like K all the way up to, as if you could do it all the way up to 12th grade. Heck, if
And
you
I'm not able to get into that form.
oh,
It
okay.
says that when I click on it, it says you need permission and
Okay. Alrighty, let me open that up. Sorry, guys.
that's all right. I could get the link in the chat box, but it's not letting me open it.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, thanks for letting me know. Alrighty here. I will just share it with you guys on my end. I think that'll work. Let's see. Okay. How about this? Can people get into that? I put it in the chat box there.
I'm still getting a file unavailable.
Okay, well, I'll show you on my screen and we'll go
Okay.
that way.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Okay, so here's my morning check-in. What I've seen the intermediate teachers do at my school is they have it. I've seen it in Google Forms before. Sometimes they have it like the kids will come up to the desk. So this is our media presentation. So I'm going to show you how to do this through Google Forms. If you're familiar with Google Forms, this is very easy to do. You can, oh gosh, you can just build it however you like. You can add different questions in here. What I like to do is make sure the kids have their first and last name in there, what teacher they're doing. And most importantly, I feel for my students anyways, how did you sleep last night? A lot of the kids are coming in getting like 3 hours of sleep and they're jerks in class, and you think it's like sometimes maybe we take it personal, and it's not. And they just have not been able to sleep. That could either be through like YouTube videos for the last like 8 hours, or they could have been not able to sleep because parents are fighting, something like that. So that kind of stuff is what we need to know as educators, counselors, like, why is my kid acting up? Like, why are they not listening to me? And then the next question is breakfast. I always try to see if the kids, sometimes our kids can get hangry, right? And so there's a lot of behaviors there of why they're not listening to me, why they're fighting with other kids, why they're arguing, why they're not following directions. Sometimes it can just be like because they just did not eat yet. And the next question is, what zone are you in? So I don't know what other districts are doing quite yet, but I know that the Billings School District 2 is bringing in the zones of regulation this next year, and it's going to be taught through our counselors in the elementary side. And so what they're expecting from that is that we will be able to have that like similar language if kids are like in different schools and stuff. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the zones of regulation, but quickly I'll let you know that the blue zone is like if you're feeling tired, sad, or depressed, that's what kind of like emotional like section you're in. Yellow would be more energy, so like either feeling like super silly, or it could feel like very anxious, or like you're feeling like very like nervous. And then green is like the ideal place to be, I suppose, is what they say. Is you're easier to learn and follow directions if you're in the green zone. Not saying you can't do that in yellow, blue, or red, but a lot of teachers would like kids to be in green because it's a lot easier to teach them. All right, and then red is our angry zone. We're not able to, we might be like hitting somebody or yelling. It's really difficult if you don't have the tools on how to behave or maintain in red. All right, and then down here is want to chat with Miss Rodgers today. So I like adding these at the end because as a counselor, we're just so dang busy. And sometimes a kid will say, we'll see him in the hall, we'll be like, hey, how are you? And they'll say, fine. And then we'll be like, okay, bye. But sometimes they're just saying that because, that's how we are. We don't really get into like, that much information in the hallway. So I like to be able to have the kids have that opportunity to tell me if they do need a check-in or not. And what I like about this form in Google Forms is, I don't know if you guys have been able to connect it to a sheet, but you can. And when you connect your Google Forms to a sheet, then you're able to see the big picture. All right. So Over here, here's my sheet that I made. Okay, it looks like Lindsay's in here. A couple people have went in here. Okay, so right here is the timestamp here. So it depends. Do you want to give this out to your whole school? Some counselors do, and whole schools are able to do this like massive check-in in the morning. And like the principals or admin counselors have, they have the ability to check this out and be like, okay, I see a kid that's in red zone, so I should probably check in with them, or I see a kid in yellow. Or over time, this kid has been, you could see like this kid has been in blue zone for the last like 2 weeks, something may be going on. So this Excel sheet morning check-ins are super effective, I think, at like getting the bigger picture for your kids. And it looks like Lindsay always eats her Wheaties, so she's not too hangry right now. So I would think she's going to be a pretty good student in for our PBS today. Let's see here. We got some yellow. I feel like I'm in probably a yellow too. Yep. So Copeland, you're probably, me and you are pretty similar today because I didn't eat too much. All right, so let's go back to this morning check-in here. Has anybody ever used forms to do any kind of like circle time type things, bringing in media in that way? I'd be curious to know if like any primary teachers in here have had success with their kids and forms. Okay. Let me move this over.
Linda said she's used Seesaw to do something
Oh,
similar.
yes. Okay.
And I've seen Tracy talk about that kind of a thing too.
Yeah.
It was
Seesaw
more of a
has,
picture thing where they could color and
yeah.
cheat.
Yeah. Seesaw is pretty cool in that for primary kids, in that you can also have that like connection. I'm not too sure if Seesaw has the sheets that can track that kind of stuff, but I don't know, maybe someday they can figure that part out. But all right, here. Can you guys still, I'm still sharing, right? Okay. Okay, let's move on here. All right, so another way that we can bring SEL into our classrooms is through pretty much all the other media labs that you guys have been a part of the last spring and then this summer too. So I know last spring we did a few activities for like math and English and science, and through Nearpod and Time to Climb and different GIMP kits and quizzes and different things like that. So we can all take what we're learning in the Media Mondays and we can transfer it into our SEL. So it's super easy to do. And a lot of these programs are rolling out with templates already built into their programs for SEL and like emotional regulation and things like that. So let's go ahead. I'm going to have you guys log on to Nearpod and we will do some practicing of the SEL. Let's see here. Okay. What I like about Google Slides is that you can have Nearpod as an add-on. And so when I build any of my lessons, I can add that game part in there. And it kind of gives the kids a break from like the talking, wah, wah, wah. And so I always appreciate that. Okay, so let's have you guys log on to Nearpod. I think it's nearpod.join. And then I will give you your code in a minute. Okay. All right. here is your code. I'll put it into the chat. And then okay. Did that come through for you guys? No? Okay, how about this link? There's a link in the chat. It says share.nearpod.com. Is that working for you, Nikki, that link?
I plugged it in. Well, I just did nearpod.join.
Okay.
Now I have welcome to your lesson, and I can add my name. Is that where we want to be?
Now I finally understand why, like, as a presenter, why it's kind of difficult when people like turn off their screens.
Yeah.
Anybody out there? I got one.
Mhm.
Okay, Lori is in. Yes, I can share my screen. Here we go. Whoop. Okay, so you should be on nearpod.com, and I gave you the code for that. Okay. I've had kids successfully log in from their tablets, from Chrome devices, things like that. Okay. Is everybody, you should see your Montana PBS Education Lab. Okay.
Yep.
So one thing I like about Nearpod is I can control the slides. Okay. So people can't like scroll through it and get ahead of me. And that's especially helpful for the students because they can zone out easily. All right, so I have control of your Nearpod website right now. So I'm gonna move the slide. I don't know if you guys, did you see that it moved? Can you tell that? Okay, all right, I'm gonna move over to the game so we can start that. A lot of, like I said earlier, Nearpod has a ton of different templates coming out with SEL. So there's a lot of diversity stuff coming out. I've used a mantra lesson before out at Nearpod, and it did pretty well for the older kids. Let's move. Okay. All right. So this is one of the activities that we can start. All right, I'm going to match the emotion words to the pictures. Okay. So you all have I'll give you a few minutes to go ahead and do that. Okay, we got about 8 people logged in. Nice job. If kindergartners can do it, I think you guys will be able to do it too. Okay. All right. Andrea is at the top of the list here. All right, Wendy, she's coming in. Okay, why are we bringing why are we having kids like understand, like match up or whatever? What's the point of that? It's the SEL. There's the social emotional learning coming back in again. So this is just another tool Nearpod is, along with the Google Forms, for that connection that we can bring into our classroom. Sometimes if the teachers have any type of time, you can use one of these Nearpod sets to bring into your classroom as well. Okay. Looks like a couple of people are already done. So we're matching the emotion words to the pictures. So if you see like an angry kid, that might be either frustrated or angry. Okay. And so on my end of this Nearpod matchup, I can see all your names over here, and most of the people have completed the game. We have a couple people. Oh, okay, almost done here. Okay, I'll give you another minute or so. Okay. Has anybody ever used Nearpod in their classrooms? No? Okay. All right. There's, for Montana anyway, the diversity stuff is slowly, finally creeping in. And if you have time, I highly suggest checking out the diversity lessons that Nearpod has brought in. And the platform is free, and it is kind of limited in that you can have probably about 4 or 5 different lessons uploaded to your profile. But of course, if you pay for a bit more, you can save majority of your lessons that way. All right, so it looked like most people are already done. We'll move on here. Okay. Okay, so here's another game that I really like. It's the Time to Climb. And before we start this quick counseling lesson for you guys, so pay attention here. We talked a little bit about the zones of regulation and how they're coming into the Billings School District. So recap is that the green zone is usually what we aim for in classrooms because it's easier for kids to follow those directions. It's easier for the kids to learn and remember those directions as well. So green is calm, happy, and blue is more feeling of tired, depressed, sad, and then yellow is anxious, nervous, silly, and red is the like irate, angry, maybe even hangry can be up there too. Okay. All right. So this Time to Climb game here, I just made my own questions and put them in here, but I've seen a lot of questions about like geography and English and things like that. So, okay, looks like Andrea is logged in. We got Megan. Okay, 2 penguins, a frog. Okay, we're doing good. Okay, we got 4 or 5 people connected. Nikki's in. Okay. All right, give a couple more seconds. Has anybody ever used Time to Climb? Anybody? Yeah, okay. I've seen this first came through in the spring when we did Media Mondays, and one of the other speakers brought it in, and I was like, this is so much fun, so much better than learning math. No offense to all the math teachers out there, but I hate math. And so I'd rather learn about feelings. That's why they pay me for feelings, I guess. But you can change the answers, you can do all that. Okay, we'll get started here. So we've got about 6 people on our game. Remember, this is zones. Ooh, there's a penguin in the lead. I see that. Wendy's in the lead. On the teacher's side of this, it will have who's in the lead by points and what questions you guys are working on as well. All right, so this is the yellow zone. Remember that yellow zone is kind of like hyped up. question? The red. All right, nice job, Megan. If you are a counselor, now would be the time you'd bring out the M&Ms in front of the kids to get them going a little bit faster. Sorry, I can't throw any M&Ms at you guys right now. And then the green zone. Green is helpful for learning. Okay, so let me, if you guys can go back to my sharing of my screen over here, you can see the overall leaders over here and the points. Megan, the cute little bear up there, she is at the top. Nice job, Megan. I wonder if you have any, if you know anything about zones of regulation, or if you just had your snack this morning, so you're able to follow directions. All right, moving on here. So let's see, why is it important? Why is it to have SEL? So can you guys think about, I'm gonna have you guys get or open up your, unmute yourself, please. I'd like to hear why, or what kind of SEL have you seen the counselors bring into your own classrooms? I'm curious to know, to hear what SEL that you've seen in your classrooms that counselors bring in. And if anything, are you taking any of that and continuing with it? What does a morning circle look like for a kindergarten teacher? Cue the crickets, people.
When I was teaching Shanna, we had this, I think we had a co-op that did our school psychology and counseling things. And she brought in this series, Superflex and the Unthinkables. And it used, it took some of the feelings and made them into superheroes. And the whole idea was we want to be flexible and we want to go with the flow and try to use our brain to be really flexible. And the Unthinkables were, took some of those negative behaviors and made them into like villains, superhero villains, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you think about that one, but I did have a couple of kids that responded well to that, and it gave us some language to say things like, I see that rock brain is kind of in your way right now. And or it seems like glass man is sort of overtaking what you're doing. Let's go back to being flexible. So
yeah, definitely. I know the program. I've seen it before. It's pretty interesting. Is there a way that we can use that in our media in our classrooms? Because so often so many kids are like on their phones, on the tablets in the classrooms. I mean, that's how we connect with our kids now. It seems like.
Yeah, I'd be interested because as far as I know, it's kind of old and it's just books at this point. But it would be fun to create some, Google form activities using it and incorporated it into the Google form that you just did. And if Nearpod had anything to work with it, that would be, I think a superhero game would be a fun one for kids to play too.
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Nikki. Let me go back into my mantra lesson. I taught this to primary grades this last year, and whoops. Let me move you over. Okay, are you guys able to see that? My Nearpod? Okay, so this is my home base right here. Here, a lesson by Calm. Calm is a meditation app, and Nearpod has partnered with them, and you can bring in different meditations into your classroom that way too. Or if you even have the app on your phone, you can do it that way. But Nearpod has this way here, and I really like that it can be student-based or live participation. So anyway, let's go into my mantra right here. Mantra lesson I used with the kids, and some of the kids, when I brought this in, they didn't even realize that they had been using mantras. And I liked that the teachers were able to share their mantras with their students too. So this is a pre-built lesson from Nearpod. And you see here, it's the social and emotional learning. So we're bringing more and more every single year. You're going to see more bringing of SEL into our classrooms, because remember, like the video said, it's effective. It's how we keep our kids in classrooms and keep them coming into our coming back to school there. Okay, so has a little bit here about self-management, and this is kind of like what we did this morning with our Google form, but they have their own format right here. So kids are able to, and you can control these slides and go at your own pace so the kids can't click through, but they're able to, this is for the like the younger crowd, I would say, like, where are you at right here? This is kind of like your zones you can use. Zones of regulation aren't the only thing in SEL. There's lots of different ways that you can incorporate social emotional learning into your classroom. And then here's another slide that they made of like, what is a mantra? Let's practice this. It goes through a lot of different, okay. And then here we can actually, I had some of the kids like bring in what makes them, what's their mantra, like, so some of them would be like, it would be like getting like medals, like you can do it, you're awesome, things like that. So a lot of the kids didn't know that you could like search for your own images through Nearpod. I really like that too. That cut through a lot of time for us. So, and then the kids right here on this like little board right here, the kids started turning in their assignments. So it's kind of like a little mini Seesaw, but the kids can see their classmates' mantras that they posted as well. And so they really thought that was kind of cool, being able to show off their own artwork to the rest of the class. Okay, so here is a little bit more. We practice these mantras here. It will be all right. We practice that together by saying it out loud and also in our head as well. Okay, and then this right here is another part of Nearpod, is that you can color and design and different things, kind of like Seesaw too. So, okay, and then there's some more data that Nearpod uses. I like that piece too, that Nearpod has that. And then what's your mood and energy level right now? Okay, so this is just an example of one of their lessons that they've created. There's diversity lessons that I think I'm going to try in the fall. We'll see how that goes. But right here, you can see right here the media lab. I've actually, Nearpod can bring in through Google Slides too. That's what we used. Okay. All right, let's see what's next. Okay. So Nikki was saying that she's used Superflex before. Is there any teachers out there that use SEL, but that's not in the media wise, like you're not bringing it in through like apps or just like computer wise? Is there any, like, usually I'd see like bibliotherapy, a lot of teachers use that. Every time I walk by a kindergarten classroom, the teachers are reading to their kids, and I love that. And that's something that I hope never goes away, is the teachers reading to their kids. let's see here. Morning meetings, circle times. Is Emily, if you're out there, what do you have for SEL that you bring in? Some other things like that people still use is like puppets and dolls, Legos, all that kind of like crafts, board games, sand trays, a lot of different things. Did you guys know that when COVID happened, sand trays came back, but like digital sand trays? And so we, as like therapists, were able to play in sand trays with their kids online. And that was like, it is kind of like an SEL because you're able to like talk through different emotions without that direct questions like, how are you feeling? Like, why are you feeling like this? But that's what we use is the media to open that conversation up in like a less abrasive way. Journals, some people still use these. We have, it's called Facebook. So it's a way that we can, well, the adults anyway, we still use Facebook to show people, to show ourselves like how we are doing in that way. So that's kind of like a journal, I would say. Seesaw is kind of like a journal. We're able to bring that home and show our parents like how we are, and it can open up conversations as well at home. So I like being able to use Seesaw in that way and Google Classrooms and open up that conversation. So I can share send it to the families and be like, hey, look at what your kid did. That's pretty awesome. And then you can open up that conversation later on when everybody's home. Okay. And then let's see. So like I said, all the media labs that you guys have been going to, and that we have a few more left, you can use all those into your SEL into your classrooms too. It's pretty awesome. Even like stop motion studio, we learned about all of that last spring, and it like changed my life. It was so fun, so amazing. And to use that for SEL, yes, you can. You can definitely like set up your Legos, set up your like your clay models, whatever you do for your classrooms, you can pretty much swing it into an SEL. Okay. Whoop. Okay, so digital portfolios. This is a thing that I've been like researching a lot, and actually like a plug for Montana PBS's Nikki's hosting Teachers Startup book club, and a lot of the stuff that what we've been talking in about that book is prompted me to look into more of digital portfolios. And what I like about the digital portfolios and SEL is the kids can they explore and then they create, and then they can like review and share with their families when they go home. And so that's what I really want to do is like, I don't think kids learn about subtraction and then they go home and they like talk about it at the dinner table. I mean, that's not what happened at my house. Like we didn't talk about like the Great Depression and everything at the dinner table. But what we can do is that we can learn about our SEL and our emotions and our highs and our lows of the day, and we can bring that home. And so a lot of teachers I've seen use the movie Inside Out to describe their zones in their classroom. And so I wanted to include this video. I just love it. It makes me so happy. I don't know if you guys have seen Inside Out, but it's amazing. And then, so like a little backstory on the movie is this girl, we can kind of see inside of like what she's going through, her like coming of age story here. And this is her parents and her had just moved to this new town, and they're struggling with all the different changes that they've been going through. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started.
As it turns out, the green trash can is not recycling. It's for greens, like compost and eggshells. And the blue one is recycling. I'm the black one.
Riley is acting so weird. Why is she acting so weird?
What do you expect? All the islands are down.
Joy would know what to do.
That's it. Until she gets back, we just do what Joy would do.
Great idea. Anger, fear, disgust. How are we supposed to be happy?
Hey, Riley, I've got good news. I found a junior hockey league right here in San Francisco. And get this, tryouts are tomorrow after school. What luck, right?
Hockey.
Uh-oh, what do we do?
Guys, here, you pretend to be Joy.
Won't it be great to be back out on the ice?
Oh yeah, that sounds fantastic.
What was that? That wasn't anything like Joy.
Because I'm not Joy?
Yeah, no kidding.
Did you guys pick up on that?
Sure did.
Something's wrong.
Should we ask her?
Let's probe, but keep it subtle so she doesn't notice. So, how was the first day of school?
She's probing us.
I'm done. You pretend to be Joy.
What? Okay.
It was fine, I guess. I don't know. Oh, very smooth. That was just like Joy.
Something is definitely going on.
She's never acted like this before. What should we do? We're going to find out what's happening, but we'll need support. Signal the husband. Ahem.
With a nice pass over to Reed, comes across that right.
Ahem.
Uh-oh, she's looking at us. What did she say?
What? Oh, sorry, sir. No one was listening.
Is it garbage night? We left the toilet seat up. What? What is it, woman? What?
He's making that stupid face again.
I could strangle him right now.
Signal him again.
So, Riley, how was school?
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
For this, we gave up that Brazilian helicopter pilot?
Boo, I'll be Joy.
School was great, all right?
Riley, is everything okay?
Sir, she just rolled her eyes at us.
What is her deal? All right, make a show of force. I don't want to have to put the foot down.
No, not the foot.
Riley, I do not like this new attitude.
Oh, I'll show you attitude. No. Stay happy.
What is your problem? Just leave me alone.
Sir, reporting high levels of sass.
Take it to DEFCON 2.
You heard that, gentlemen? DEFCON 2.
Listen, young lady, I don't know where this disrespectful attitude came from.
You want a piece of this, Pops? Come and get it.
Yeah, well,
Here it comes. Prepare the foot.
Keys to safety position. Ready to launch on your command, sir.
just shut up!
Fire!
That's it. Go to your room. Now.
Foot is down. The foot is down.
Good job, gentlemen. That could have been a disaster.
Well, that was a disaster.
Come, fly with me, Gachinya.
Okay, so I don't know. I just wanted to put this in here to just let you guys know, like, I don't know if you guys grew up eating dinner at the dinner table, but our kids these days, we don't get that too often. And a lot of kids would kill to have this interaction, even though it's negative. Their parents are talking to them, their parents are reaching out. And I saw this article the other day that it says 62% of parents are spending more time with their phones than they are with their kids. And that was so sad to see. And I mean, our kids are sponges. They're going to see us on our phones, and then they're going to turn around and do the same thing. But it's interesting, though, that parents are all about, you need to be playing outside, you need to be doing this, you need to be homework. But then if you turn around, the parents are still on their phones. And I get it, as a parent, it's a way to decompress from the day and everything. I get that. But bringing back into the digital portfolios, there's some things that I'm starting up with my students next year, is that a way for them to, what they're learning at school through the SEL curriculums, how to bring it home. And, you know, I don't know if you guys experience this, but, you know, by the first few weeks of school, you probably have like 10 pieces of paper on your desk from kids bringing home. And then a few months later, the pile starts going up higher and higher and higher. And I just think to myself, well, like, all these worksheets, like save the earth, people. Let's just do more like digital stuff because I haven't got time to go through all these worksheets and everything. So I want to like challenge you guys as teachers for my own kids, like let's do less worksheets and more digital portfolios, because the kids like they're technology, right? Like that's all they know these days. And so one idea that I had gotten from our book study through Nikki is to start like super basic for our digital portfolios, and going into Nearpod or going into like surveys and like starting like kind of big like that might be a bit overwhelming for you. And so if you do want to start saving digital portfolios for your students, like things that they've worked on, like conflict resolution, or they've worked like through friendship stuff, like they're creating these different like diversity lessons, anything like that, you can even just start basic with like a Google folder and just have access that their parents can have access to that Google folder. And then they can put their own works, their SEL works inside there. One thing that I learned in the spring through our Media Mondays is Jamboard, and it is so cool. I love it. And it's like a collaborative whiteboard app that Google is in charge of. And so we're going to have an opportunity today to work on our Jamboards and create our own digital portfolios. So I haven't quite figured out a good way to use our digital portfolios through Google Classroom, because I just honestly, being in elementary this last year, I've just worked a lot with Seesaw. Oh, and going back to Seesaw, not just Nearpod has those lessons, but of course you guys will know that teachers build lessons in Seesaw, and there's a ton of like SEL stuff coming out too. So don't just look for math, look for SEL too, and you can bring that into your classrooms on Seesaw. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna give you guys a few minutes to work through this. So well, our Nearpod game, we learned a bit about the zones. So the blue zone is your sick, sad, tired, bored. Green is you're ready to go, calm and happy. Yellow is frustrated, worried. And then mad, or is the red zone is mad. Okay, so this is the link up here, the zone scavenger hunt. So if you click on this link, zones right here, it will bring you into our Jamboard. Okay, and the first page of the Jamboard is just like just a starter one. So what you'll want to do is we're each going to have our own board, and so mine is the second one. So whoever, just claim your board, go to any board you have and start typing in your name. And you'll want it kind of a setup like right here, red, yellow, green, blue. So what we're doing right now is we're gonna start our own digital portfolios for our zones of regulations, okay? And so find a board, pick any board, just make sure you're not making it on top of anybody else's. Put your name in there, claim your board on the top left there. Okay, Andrea's in. And then you'll want to, so this is a scavenger hunt, and this is how we play. So after you get your name in there and you've claimed your own whiteboard, you can add different parts to, there's like sticky notes and there's lasers and different things you can add to Jamboard on the left side there. But what I'd like to see is pictures from either your phone or pictures around your house right now. You guys can go take things around your house that what puts you into those zones. So well, I'll go back to mine, show you mine. All right, so I'm gonna start red zone. So if you guys look over here on my red zone, it's kind of like a scary little room right here. That's actually my laundry room, and that puts me in the red zone, okay? Because there's look, if you look in it, there's no siding or molding on the side. It's been like this for like 2 years. I had big plans for it. It gets me upset. I don't like it. And so What's an interesting thing about the zones is even though I'm feeling in red zone about this laundry room, like the context right now is that I'm able to not scream about it on our Zoom call. So that's what we're learning through our zones, is how to manage inside of our zone, right? So there's going to be a lot of days where we're stuck in yellow, where we're stuck in blue. And I'd like us to create our own digital portfolio on our Jamboard today, so we can get to know each other a little bit more in that way. So, and this would be a good project for kids at the beginning of the school year too, to get to know each other and open up the language for emotions, and that it's okay to say you're mad. It's okay to say you're like upset, but like, what's the context of it? You can't, just because you're in red, it's not okay to like push your person out of line. My yellow zone up at the top here, it has like a crap ton of balloons. And so my yellow zone, I had to I chose to host my birthday party for my two boys a couple weeks ago. And I just don't like a lot of people in my house. It's very overwhelming for me. My house is a little bit smaller, so I was definitely in yellow zone that whole time during that party. And this picture reminds me of that. And so back to the context, the night before the party, I didn't sleep very well, and I was just making sure everything was like picked up and everything was right and the food was okay and everything. And when I was in yellow zone for like 3 days, and that's okay. I mean, a lot of the times, like I said, adults, most of their adult life, they'll be in blue zone or yellow zone, like high end, like constantly, like just anxious. All right. So my green zone, this is kind of a open-ended assignment here. So if you'd like to show us a picture of what kind of things put you into these zones, or maybe like what you use to regulate inside of these zones, you could use it that way. What I use in my blue zone, this is kind of like a regulation. I don't know if you can see, to the underneath my right armpit is like a little furry dog right there. And so when I'm feeling blue, sad, or depressed, that my dog is there. So that's when I think of blue zone, that's how I regulate in blue zone, is that the therapeutic side of animals. They can help quite a bit. And then in the top green zone there, those are my two boys. And like, that's prime time, is when I'm with them, and well, when they're not arguing and being crazy. Like, that's my green zone. I'm happy and I'm calm, and there's like lots of love in my green zone. All right, so we'll be all right to just pause for like 5 or 10, and you guys can go ahead and search around your house, take pictures. Maybe you have some pictures from last week that you can add into your Jamboard, and then we can discuss afterwards. And then, so as kids create these digital portfolios, remember, Jamboard is just one way we can create that. We can bring it home and talk to our folks about it, so we can share our highs and lows. I have a good friend that she has stepkids. It's like it's a mixed home, right? So she has stepkids in her own, and they make it a point to sit down for dinner and do their highs and lows. And she has like a 13-year-old and a 4-year-old too. So for the 4-year-old to hear the highs and lows of like a 14-year-old, I mean, it sounds kind of weird, but it's good, because she's getting different language and different kind of things that, like, even hearing her parents say that, oh, my schedule is like very busy is stressing me out, things like that. So I have just seen so many kids just sad because their parents are so busy with their phones, and I just want to bring in more of that digital portfolio so they can bring it home and they can connect with their parents that way.
Jenna, one of the things we did when I was teaching, and I did it with my K1s, but then when I moved in 4 or 5, we did it too, where we did roses and thorns.
Okay.
And I would maybe say share 3 roses and 1 thorn, to try and emphasize the positive. And it was one of those things that could be digital where we could put it, we were blogging a lot in that when I was teaching. And so sometimes I would have kids write out a blog post describing their roses and thorns. But they loved doing Google Slides because then they could bring in their pictures and things. Like my kids loved making Google Slides. And we could post the link to those slides on our blogs, and then moms and dads could see those things too. And even just talking about roses and thorns in the classroom, especially maybe at the end of the day, then it was kind of fresh on their minds. I had parents comment that those things came up at the dinner time conversation or bedtime conversation. There was one family that the parent tried to do like a unique bedtime ritual with each of the kids just to give them some one-on-one time. And he said that talking about the things that were good and then the things that were not so good really helped. That reflection and that language helped a little bit too.
That's so awesome to hear, Nikki, that you were doing that way before SEL was like getting pushed in and stuff. So that is so cool. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
I have to say I had a hard time thinking of my image for yellow. I don't know if that's a harder one, if other people have a hard time coming up with that one. Or...
Sometimes
use pictures though.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna look and see what you guys are working on. Well, make sure to put your name on your slide, on your whiteboard slide, so I know who's who. I like Andrea's. Yes, personal space. So, Nikki, do you want to start us off with yours? Because yours intrigues me, especially your red and yellow.
Yeah. So I'm one of those people that hates cleaning, but it instantly sends me to the red zone. But I also hate having a messy house. Like I can't sit down and focus on anything else if all I see is the mess. And there are times when I'll walk into my kids' room and I'm like stepping on cars and and then instantly the anxiety races. And it's like, I need to leave. So nothing will get me in the red zone faster than my messy house. And then, see, the yellow zone I had a hard time with because of that place where it's anxious. But I feel like I'm still focusing. It's like when my calendar is really full and I'm going from meeting to meeting to meeting and I have a lot of things, a lot of events that I'm planning for, there is this like nervous energy inside of me. I'm fully capable of doing all of that, and functioning. But I do feel a nervousness when my calendar starts to look like that. And that was the best I could come up with for yellow zone. Green zone was just anytime I get to be outside and I've got the family with me and we're nearby, we've got the dogs and we've got the kids and we're all together and we're out of the house, we're away from the screens, we're away from the mess, and we're all together just like walking around. And then blue zone, I know that when I've been because I spend most of my time in front of the screen, especially the last year and a half, if I've had too much of that screen time and if I'm not sleeping well, I think that's when I can feel the blue zone getting the most of me.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting that you said about your yellow zone. You said that even though you're like wound up in your yellow zone, you're still like productive. And Nikki, if you were my kid and we were sitting out at dinner right now, I'd be like, Nikki, like you can be in your yellow, but you're still getting your assignments done. So being able to give those like the thorns and roses guys, like opening that up, be like, yeah, I can see that you're very busy and you're stressed out at work and you have a lot of assignments. but what can you do when you're stressed out? What can you do while you're there so you can meet those like expectations that we have in our life, right? Because Nikki, you have to go to work. You can't just like give up, right? Because you have expectations, and even our kids do too. I mean, it's not like they're paying our bills, but they need to take care of themselves. Just because you're in blue zone doesn't mean you don't have to take a shower for like 2 years, right? So able to like teach our children, like, yeah, you are sad, like I see it, I see how you're sad, I see that you don't want to get out of bed. What can we do right now to get you out of bed, because it's not like a safe choice to stay in bed. Like, it's not good for your body, it's not good for your mind to stay in bed for that long. So I would just be so curious. I want to kind of make my own kids do this Jamboard and be like, what puts you in red? What puts you in yellow? And like, maybe it's just something like, I'm wondering, like, sometimes kids get into yellow when there's a lot of like action going on, right? So other kids can hype them up too. It's not necessarily with us adults that stress, because work stress usually gets me into yellow too. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think I want to do this with my kids. I think I want to show them, it's been a long time since we've watched the Inside Out movie. I think that might be a good place to start in like identifying some of those emotions. And maybe they loved talking through stuff like this.
Yeah, that's so cool. And what I really liked about Inside Out is I know they focus on the girl and stuff, but they also bring the parents' emotions into the picture. Like, we all have fear, but fear acts differently in each one of our brains, right? So just because just because your parent says, yeah, I get scared, it's not going to necessarily look the same as like a kid being scared. And so being able to like let our kids know that it looks different, our emotions are different. And so yes, I love Inside Out. I wonder if I wonder if they're going to make another one, or a different, like,
they could go all kinds of places with that.
I love it. Okay, let's see here. Lindsay's still working. Andrea, do you mind sharing? I'm curious.
That's fine. Here we go. Hi. So I put for my blue that I'm exhausted at the end of each day. And so one of the things that I do to calm myself down and rest up is to read before bed. And that helps calm me down and get me prepared for going to bed, rather than going to bed with my phone or iPad or something like that, which has been happening in the past. My green zone is my girls, and family in general. So they make me energized and happy. And they also contribute to the yellow, which is having crazy schedules. So now that they're older, they all are going in different directions. And so trying to keep up with their schedule as well as my schedule, and then my husband at the same time, stresses me out. And so because of that, I've had to have the red, which is my personal space, and really make sure that I take time for myself and decompress, and then also have time for myself to organize where we're going each day.
Oh, I love that. I like how organized your zones fit in with each other. Like, everyone affects the other one. That's very good. And
yeah, it's kind of funny.
I like that. Are you a very organized person, Andrea?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, you like put things in like their own boxes and stuff. Each other. Yeah, I like that. I can sense that just from your little Jamboard there. What I thought was really cool was, and I mean, maybe because you're an adult, you already know this about yourself, but I like how you know what can help you maintain in your blue zone, right? So you reach out for the books, and you already know your body and your mind on how to maintain in your blue zone, right? So going back to Nikki might be in her yellow zone for long periods of time. You and I might be in our blue zones, but we know what we can reach out for And so we take this exercise from our Jamboards and we can bring it into our students, or our kids at home and be like, okay, you're stuck in blue zone. Well, for me, reading a book at night helps me relax and it helps me sleep better. Like, what can we do that can help you like maintain in your blue zone? It's interesting. I don't know if you guys use zones too much in your own classrooms or not, but I've heard a few teachers say like, okay, let's get back into the green zone. I'm not 100% huge fan of getting back into the green zone because like we've discussed before, sometimes we just don't fit into the green zone, right? And sometimes we're on meds because we don't fit into the green zone, and that's okay. But I would just like cautious you guys that pushing our students into the green zone or expecting our students to be in the green zone. It can be a downward spiral as well, because a lot of like shame can come from that. Like, I'm not good enough. I'm never in the green zone. She'll never accept me that way or something like that. So find your kids, find your students where they're at. And we got to accept that because we're all human and nobody's perfect. And I'd be super boring if I was in green zone all the time. I don't even think I would be very productive like Nikki if I was in green zone all the time. I'd just be hanging out all the time. All right, so who we got next? Andrea, Nikki. Let's see here. Lori?
Well, I'm still working on mine. Those are the only pictures that I found, but the green zone, what makes me really happy is my family, and then also spending time gardening or doing flowers. So I put a picture of that in the green zone.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I like how you added the flowers. Do you feel like if you're in a blue zone or a yellow zone, do you find yourself like reaching out for plants and being in the dirt and stuff to help you like get through that point?
Definitely. I think even, with the red zone, like sort all strategies to teach kids, finding something that you like or that calms you. And, spending time outside does all of that in those blue, red, and yellow zones. So.
Good. Okay. Well, let's see, who else should I call on? Lindsay, is that softball, baseball? What's going on there? Miss Lindsay White. Anybody else want to share? Wendy, Emily, Megan?
I'll share.
Thanks, Megan.
So my blue zone is I have a 4-month-old and she thinks she has to eat every 3 hours, even at night. So I don't know what sleep is right now. So I'm exhausted. My green zone is my girls. I actually have 6 girls. 2 of them are mine, 2 are my stepdaughters, and 2 are my foster daughters. But my fosters, I can't put pictures of them. And then my step are at that age where they're too cool to get pictures. So I don't have them in there. And then my yellow is I went whitewater rafting. And it's that time of year where you're not really sure if it's going to be rough or calm. So I was kind of scared, but I knew it'd be fun. And then my red is when my kids eat all the food and I have nothing left.
I feel your zones, Megan. Oh, goodness. Ooh, I feel them. That's a personal thing when people eat the food and I don't get it. It turns very personal very fast. Cool. Thanks for sharing. So you said you have teens, is that right? In you're fostering teens, is that right, Megan?
My age groups they kind of pair. So my fosters and my stepdaughters are actually all the same age. So I've got 2 12-year-olds and 2 8-year-olds.
2 12s, 2 8s. Okay.
Yes. So my stepdaughters and my fosters, somehow their age happened to line up perfectly. So when they came in to live with us, it was like instant best friends.
Aw.
But they're off to the 8-year-olds would love pictures, but they're too busy playing. And then the 12-year-olds are not about pictures these days.
So cool. Since you have such like a blended family, how do you guys find time to like bring up those conversations that we're trying to do in our classrooms? Like, how do we bring it home when your house is so busy?
Yeah, so it definitely does. It's hectic at our house. It's got its highs and lows, but with my stepdaughters, we do week on, week off. So that's an easy, like, it's not like we're just with them 24/7. So when we get them back every other Monday, it's a good time for us to be like, how was your week? How are you feeling? And it like, we have to make a point to check in with them because we know we only get 7 days with them and then they're gone again. So that's really nice that like, it's not like we take our own kids for granted, but like we only do get them for 7 days and then we have to give them back. And so we try to make our time with them precious. And then with my foster daughters, they're actually transitioning to go home to their mom. And so, I mean, as anybody knows, big change in kids' lives, behaviors come up. And so we do have to connect a lot more with them. And because behaviors are showing more as they're trying to make this transition, we aren't necessarily forced, but somewhat forced to have those tough conversations. Like, how are we feeling today? Like, if we are in this zone, how can we get out of it? My oldest foster, she's in counseling. So the counselors actually worked with us a ton, which is incredible that counselors are not only just willing to work with the kids, that they also want to connect with the parents of how to help the kids.
Oh, okay. That's super refreshing. That's great to hear. Thanks for sharing, Megan. Always like have so much respect for foster parents. That's huge. That's like being a parent on steroids. Wow.
Well, thanks.
Awesome. Megan, are you an educator? Are you in the classroom or what does that look like for you?
Yes, I teach kindergarten.
Whew. Okay. Now you're on roids as a parent, but also as a teacher.
I'm not sure how I make it every single day, but I'm still hanging in.
I don't know either. I learned a lot from kindergarten teachers this last year too, and there should be like a lot more pay involved. No, but that's my opinion.
Like that?
I don't know how they do it. I don't know. But let's see here. Wendy, do you want to go? Do you want to share your zones with us?
Sure. So I am actually at work, so I don't have a lot of pictures with me. So I just kind of did the option of Google Images. So I did find one family picture. So that was what I put in my green zone, is my family and racing. My son is a race car driver, so we do a lot of racing. And so then my blue zone, I put a cemetery just because we've had a lot of loss lately. And so that's been kind of a tough time for us. My red zone is just bullying, any kind of treating people unkindly, that kind of thing. That just really upsets me a lot. And then my yellow is the storms, because most of you know that any storm that seems to happen lately starts fires. And so all of that is just kind of nerve-wracking and stuff. So that's kind of what I did.
I see a lot of stress going on in your zones. Yeah, you're holding a lot.
It's been a rough couple of years, that's for sure.
How when you're in your yellow zone, when the storms are happening, like how are you not like freaking out? How do you not like run around your whole house like throwing things around? Like,
well, I am a believer, so I do some praying, and then I just, trust that we'll be safe. I do the things that I need to do to keep my family and my home safe, and just wait it out.
I love that. So you use your spiritual side to help you like regulate through your zones. That's super important. I really appreciate that. Thanks for sharing, Wendy.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So Wendy, are you classroom teacher or what is your position?
No, I work for an R&R here in Billings with early childhood. So preschool and kindergarten teachers I work with. But, we're seeing a lot of media even going into those younger ages. And so that's why I signed up for these, because I think it's important. This isn't going away. It's going to keep growing and growing. And so the more tools I can have in my tool belt to help teach those preschool teachers and kindergarten teachers, the better it is. So
What have you found anything like when you're teaching your teachers, like what are you guys using to bring in SEL, like that conflict resolution? I'm sure that's what you guys like try to break up fights so quite often.
right. Yeah, well, I put it in the chat box earlier, but we do a lot of training on the pyramid model. So and then of course conscious discipline. We do a little bit of talking about zones. One of my specialties is working with children with autism, and so we use a lot of zones. I've used Superflex before, stuff like that. So a little bit of everything, you kind of, I feel at those young ages, you got to have a really big toolbox, and even at the older ages, because what works for some kids don't work for others. And what works sometimes will only work for a short period of time. And then you got to move on. And so bringing in those layers is really important. And I think that with social emotional as a whole, in my age group, is just helping them recognize those emotions is the most important step. They're not going to be able to deal with it if they can't recognize it and accept it and know that it's accepted by others.
Yeah.
So.
I like how you said accept it. That because it's so much, like, I don't even have to like tell you, like, we have everybody has expectations for each other. And even when we walk into the classroom, when a student walks into the classroom, Wendy, the teachers have so much expectations, like, you should act this way, you should do this, you should follow my directions. And if you don't, there'll be some shaming going on, or maybe there'll be, even if the teacher doesn't like try to do that, the kid might still take it more personally than they would another kid.
Absolutely.
That's a really hard line to walk, Wendy, is like, especially the little kids going in, and you don't know what kind of families they're coming from and things like that. And so I hope that for the older kids, the third, fourth, fifth graders, were able to connect with them on that level, that they can go to their parents and they can be like, my family doesn't do it like this, but I know that it's healthy to do it like this, because what I learned.
For sure.
And so, yeah, as educators, Wendy, like, that's good that you are making that, you are giving that base for the children. Like, I am mad, like, that is a huge starting thing. Like, just teach those little, like, 3-4-year-olds what feeling is what, so that they can, when they get to over on our side to the primary and intermediate, like, we can be like, okay, you're mad, so now what can we do? So you're making huge changes for us over here, because you're helping those little guys come into school and be like, this is how I'm feeling, but I'm not quite sure what to do. And then hopefully we'll do that.
That's a lot of what of our theory is we completely we recognize the hard work that all of you teachers do, and on our part in early childhood, social emotional, I think, is the biggest piece, because we have smaller numbers usually that we can work with, and we can really give them that one-on-one time to learn this social emotional aspect, the skills that they can use to regulate and help you guys out, because you guys have more students to deal with, plus a really big agenda for your days, and you need so they need to have those skills already started and in place.
Well, thank you, Wendy. I appreciate all the hard work you're doing with them, because I can tell when a child comes in that has had that background, and then a child coming in that hasn't. And I mean, it's not their fault. I mean, that's just the situation, but it's kind of interesting and also a little bit blue zone that we could recognize that with our students and our children. All right, so let's see. Who else would like to share? Lindsay? She added a little bit more here.
Sorry, I was away from my computer the first time you called on me.
That's okay.
So this is a super fun tool. I've never used this before. So thank you for sharing this.
Oh yeah, no problem. Jamboard is amazing.
It is fun. So I put my blue zone as just kind of stress of life in general as a teacher. I'm a mom. Sometimes summer can be stressful because I don't get paid all summer. So I'm always, and then kind of connected with my green zone. My son plays travel baseball, so we've been traveling a lot, which adds more to my stress level of just like financial and stuff. But I'm super proud of my little baseball player. He's started being a catcher recently, and it seems like it's a natural fit for him. So, and he's 11, so it's pretty fun to see him growing as a player. I also just thought it was kind of funny. During the winter when they're training for my yellow zone, it's kind of the goofy zone. And it's kind of fun to watch him and his baseball player teammates goofing around doing different drills. So he's the one under my yellow zone. He's the one on the left. And then anybody that has a teenage daughter for my red zone, I put that she pushes me to the red, but I put a heart around her picture as well. So I love her. I think she drives me to the red zone because she's a lot like me. So that's my board.
I love that. Oh my gosh, thanks for sharing. I like that all your zones connect to each other too. Who was it that Andrea's was like that too.
I didn't even really think about it until I started explaining it.
Yeah, so I mean, I mean, from what as an outsider looking into your zones, I feel like you put a lot of your energy into your family, and that that kind of stressors amplify up your blue zone a lot. But I see that you do like play, and that what makes you bring into your family a lot in your life too. And so you use your yellow zone as play. And like going back to each zone is okay, but I remember we tell our kids, like some teachers will say like, let's get back into our green zone, but even so, Lindsay, like you can be productive in your yellow. I see that you're happy, that you have good memories, and you have like good pictures in your yellow too.
Right. Yeah.
I appreciate that about that. That yellow's not necessarily like
a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. Sometimes kids, maybe they should be in yellow to get that assignment done, right? So
right. Yeah.
I like that.
Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah. So I'm curious, this is kind of a personal question, but I'm a therapist, so I have some boundaries over here that I'm trying to not like get through. What do you do looking at your zones? How do you, for your green zone? So your family is your green zone. What happens, like, let's take your family out of the picture. Like, how do you find yourself in a green zone without like putting your family into your zones? I know it's a huge part of your life, but
when my kids, so my son is 11, my daughter is 13, when they were probably 2 and 4, I took up running as my way to escape. And it turned into being something like I just wanted to be healthier. I just wanted to maybe lose some baby weight, all that common stuff. But then it turned into 30 minutes to an hour of time that I was just by myself and kid free. And then I met and more friends. And now I have like my little running group that there's 4 of us that we run a lot together, and that would easily be my number one green zone after my family, of just time that I can clear my head and laugh with my friends. And I guess I don't have any. I do have a picture. I just ran a 18-mile race in the Bighorn Mountains. I should have put that on there. Didn't even think about that. But yeah, thanks for making me think beyond that.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Lindsay. I see that your family is your priority, but remember how everybody tells us like we can't pour from an empty cup. So I see that your cup gets filled from running and having that energy and stuff. So that's super refreshing. Thank you for telling that part of you. That is really cool to hear.
Yeah.
18 miles. I don't know how you do that. That would put me in the red zone.
I was in the yellow zone probably for a week after that.
Yeah, for sure. That is so cool. I love that though. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else want to share? Okay, Lori, she's in the dirt with her flowers. I agree. Let's see. We got Andrea. Wendy shared. Linda? Emily? Hello. Are you out there?
So I couldn't get mine to work, so I didn't do mine. Sorry. But,
that's okay.
But I did have a question for you. So I'm a first grade teacher, and this has nothing to do with what's going on here, but it made me think as we're doing this, when kids are coming back in the fall, and let's say they've been remote this whole time, or they haven't been in school, do you have any idea what we're going to be faced with, or what different? Is it going to be any different? Is it going to be, are they going to come with different baggage, or is it going to be the same type of baggage? Do you have any insight into that? As I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about kids doing this, that's what my question was right there.
Yeah, I would say yes to everything you just said. So, I mean, oh man, okay, you're in the trenches with first grade. So you're going to see kids that have a lot of social anxiety because they've been gone for so long. And it might take months to get them into like a comfortable place. And you're going to have kids where it really didn't affect them too much. What I would suggest is really reach out to the parents or the family, whoever's in charge of them, and ask them what have they been struggling with this summer, like behaviorally, socially, and that will give you a blueprint onto what you need to do to help them open up in your classroom. I'd say a lot of like crazy stuff has been going on for kids. A lot of like just random boring pool day stuff has been going on for kids. I don't think you're really going to know what you're going to get until it happens. And that sucks. And I'm sorry. And it's stressful. And you're probably going to be in yellow zone all next year, all next fall. So I would say reach out to the parents. That's where you're going to get a lot of your information. And then first grade, it'd be interesting to see, like, are you in Billings, Linda?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, okay. You should be able to, you guys have counselors, like reach out for them. Get them.
We have an amazing counselor. I was just wondering if you had any insight as to, or any hints or anything that you could maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just worrying before the fact, and maybe there won't be any, in my perfect world, there won't be any issues, right?
Yeah. I would say like, okay, so this last year, there was a lot of teachers that I saw struggled with like friendship issues. And I think it seemed like a lot of my students, they weren't on the team, their classroom team. Like they didn't feel that community part of stuff, Linda. So I would say, like, especially first grade, everybody's like out to get each other. at my school. And so is there some kind of like team building you can do for first graders? Like help them become friends first before, I don't even know if teachers are able even have the time to do this, but like get them to know each other. Like what can they appreciate about each other? Build that relationship. And if they do have that friendship, that relationship at the beginning of the year, I think it will be a bit easier on your classroom. And I would say just from the beginning, start building, like getting them to know each other, not you knowing them necessarily, but getting them to know each other and appreciating different things about other kids. Like, oh, you could say like, it would be really awesome to see like first grade. Okay. So you have an autistic, say this is just an example, you have an autistic kid, and then you have this other kid that's just like general ed, but that general ed kid can see this autistic kid and be like, oh yeah, he gets excited, he gets hyped up when there's lots of noise in the room. So can the general ed kid turn to his friend and be like, hey man, just like be calm, you're getting so and so hyped up, like looking out for each other. This last year I saw a lot of the kids were like, they were looking out for themselves. And I would hope that, like, I don't know, there is the community part of the classroom. And I guess it really depends on the teacher and how you guys can like bring that in and get closer to each other that way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I don't think that we can't not take the time to do that, because if we do, it's going to alleviate a lot of problems down the road.
Do you, Linda, curious, like, what do you do for your like morning meetings?
So my husband's laughing at me right now because I was struggling with the Jamboard and I was struggling with all those things. But when you put up like the old school versus the new school, I didn't realize that all those things were social emotional things, like the taking time in the morning to talk about what you're doing are good things and bad things, or like the bibliotherapy, having, reading to them like when they come in after lunch recess and things like that, I guess are things that I do, and the music and things like that. I guess those are things that you just do automatically that you don't realize are social emotional things. So, but like in the morning, we do a calendar, and we, especially Monday mornings, we talk about, and they can have that option to pass too. They don't have to share something, but usually we share if you have something good to share or something exciting or even something bad, as long as, they can share whatever. But we do a lot of that kind of sharing. The music I do in the morning when they come in. We do a morning choice time, and then we do the music to kind of calm them down and know that the day's starting. So like you said, a lot of those things I think intuitively you just do as a teacher that you don't know that are social emotional things.
Thank you. That's awesome. Something that you said kind of like it got my attention a bit more was that you said that you guys have that sharing time in the morning. So like verbally you have your kids share about something that happened that weekend. Can you ever, like, I know some kids just like don't have the words, like Wendy was saying, they just don't come from that kind of background, like they're not quite sure that they had like this terrible weekend. Maybe they think that it's normal, but they're not quite sure how to express that to you. Linda, would you be like open to having kids share that morning time in like a different way, like either like drawing it, or they could like pick out a song? Well, it'd be hard for first grade to pick out a song that could describe their weekend, but it'd be interesting to see like a different way to express, because first grade's tough. Like there's such a huge range in that age. Like they can be very verbal, and then like the kid next to them like says nothing. And so I'm wondering if there's something you can bring into your morning meetings that would give the kids that are like more nonverbal and don't have those words, like how can you get them to express more of like how they're feeling? I don't know, maybe that's something like, it could be like zones, like every kid puts like a pin or their clothespin, like what zone they're in. They don't have to say it because they can pass. Like you do give them that chance to share and not share, but maybe you can like find their zone, or they can talk about a situation. Like one of the things that I really like to challenge my students with is not directly asking them a question about their feelings, but asking them in like non-directly, like, Nikki, how do you think a kid would feel if they didn't get called on for a game at recess? I mean, now she doesn't feel so like pinpointed, like, oh my God, she's talking about me or whatever, but it's an open conversation. I wonder if there's something that you can bring in to your classroom that would give those kids that, like you said, there might be coming in from like all virtual, they'll be nervous. They won't know these people. They won't have the relationship built into, they won't have that comfort level to like open up to you guys yet. Maybe there's like a visual thing or something that you can figure out to get them their emotions like out in the classroom. I don't know, just an idea.
That is a great idea. Lots of times some of those emotions come out. We do some journaling too, and lots of times if they don't share with the whole class, that will come out in maybe writing sentences at the, well, not at the beginning of the year, but drawing pictures at the beginning of the year and sentences towards the end. That's when it seems like a lot of their social emotional things that they have questions about or need help with come out.
Yes, definitely. You mentioned lots of things that you are already doing and that other teachers have been doing for years that are social emotional. I mean, unfortunately now is just the time where like our bosses are like, oh, this is important, but we have been doing it. We have been doing lots of that kind of stuff. And I'm glad to see that you do journaling, because I mean, I'm still a noob counselor, but I've seen a lot of teachers have shown me different journals, and that has opened up a lot of conversation in individual sessions as well. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Linda, for sharing. I appreciate your perspective.